Hello and welcome to my video of renovating a mud house in Eastern Europe. This is the first time that I've been getting started at this in the last couple of days. So I'll give you a look around what it looked like before, and then me tearing out all the furniture, taking everything out, put it on a pile to burn the next day. You'll see there's a lot of work involved with this, tearing off the doors, tearing everything apart. So it took a lot of time. I don't know if this is a smart idea or not, what I set out to do here, taking apart a house like this, but we will see. If I get in too deep, I will know later. If you're easily offended by OSHA violations, by the tearing down of that which is old to make something new, or any other easily offendable thing, then please find another video to watch or jump in the comments to yell hate at me. This is what it looked like after I tore out the furniture. It's all empty and clean, or for the most part, except for the dirt on the floor. That's the doorway. This is the living room that I'm panning to now. Just came out of the kitchen. So it's basically had a living room, a kitchen, an entry, and then a little closet to the side. The total size of the house is about 15 feet by 25 feet, or I think that's 5 meters by 8 meters almost. And then this is the view out of my living room window. I'd love to make that quite obvious. So here's me tearing out this wall. It's tearing into the mud. As you can see, there's several layers of plaster of paint on it, first of all, and then there's mud stuck on there. How they used putting the mud is by using these little furlings, or I don't know what the things are called, but strips of wood that they put in there to adhere the mud to the to the block, what do you call those things, logs. Then I tore out from the other side just so you could see a peek around. This is me continuing just to tear it out. I used a hatchet or thingy, whatever, I don't know what it's called either. Most of my knowledge is quite limited when it comes to construction, but I just use what's there and I'm going to start whacking away. So I don't know much what I'm doing, but all I know is that I can destroy things pretty fast and pretty efficiently. So I took all the mud off and throw the plaster and then the mud, and then there's the little furlings, and then you can see that's just the logs inside. The logs are stacked up. There's a little rib, as you'll see later, that goes into the posts. This is me starting to tear out the living room floor. I decided to try to pry it up. It did not pry up that well, and a lot of the pieces broke. While I was doing this, I started a fire outside to try to see if I could burn all of the junk that I'd taken outside. So I had to keep looking at that while I was tearing up the floor. That's why it took me quite some time, because I was worried about the fire and the wind, and I didn't have any water on the property, so I had to watch out and make sure that my fire wouldn't start any other fires, unnecessary fires. It would be the talk of the village for an American to come into this village and immediately burn it down, so I was quite worried. And I took up the floor piece by piece, ripping it out. It took some time to break all the pieces out. I wanted to save some of the pieces, and I was able to. Here's a look at my fire again. I found some smoldering in the one wood pile to the side, and that scared me a bit. I saved the mantle to this door. I think I'm going to use it later for another entry, maybe the main entry into the house later, into the original part. I'd love to reuse it. The other parts of it would not tear off very easily, so I had to basically scrap those. They will make good firewood or whatever. The second section of the floor I was able to lift up like this, just move it over, and then just hammer away and tear it out like that. It was a lot easier to take out the second section because of this method of destroying it. It was a lot simpler. I did break a lot more boards, which I was sad to see them go, but it would have taken a lot of time to save them, and there are also, most of them are fairly rotten. So I started hammering away at it with my axe or pickaxe or whatever you want to call that thing, and slowly it started coming apart. And you can see here how the floor was built. It was just built into the dirt with these long posts across and then boards nailed onto them. Amazingly, it held up decently well for how old the house is. I thought it actually worked pretty excellently. There I am, just trying to tear those floorboards off the piece, and then I'm going to shove that long post out the window. Everything's going to go out the window and later onto a fire. Either burn what I can't save, what's not worth rebuilding with or doing something else with, save that, or save those pieces and then burn everything else. So there I'm just picking it up out of the dirt. You can see it just laid into the dirt. They cut the one side of it kind of level so that they could put the boards on more smoothly, but the bottom side was round and the top, yeah, just plain level or whatever you call it. And the boards were quite rotten there. So I had to pick every piece off, basically just trying to make it small enough to get out the window. Needed to shove it out the window. I wish I had a video of the window, but I don't. And there you go. That's the last piece I got shoved out the window. Here I am started on the next wall. Just start chipping away at that mud, that paint, trying to clear it off. It's actually a pretty easy process, just banging it away, chipping it and peeling it. If you get one of those little sticks that the mud is adhered to, then that works a lot easier. Get one of those sticks, you can get a big chunk and just tear it away, tearing right into that thing. It's amazing. This house is built almost like a log cabin would be in the States, but they covered it with mud. They're a little smarter than the early pioneers, I guess, and covered everything with mud to keep it for their insulation and their to keep everything safe and sound so they could paint it instead of just having these log chinks in there. So there's me just continuing to tear it away, tearing it down. Everything's getting on the floor, lots of dust around. My wife said I should wear a mask, but, well, I didn't have a mask, so it didn't work out that well. And this is the side where the oven is. On the other side, you can see it right there, the oven for the where they used to bake everything and heat the house. And I didn't know this, but this side of the wall is actually all built up in brick, so everything behind the plaster is just brick. And it makes sense. They actually used their brains a little bit and built it in brick instead of doing wood here where all the heat is. Everything's exposed. And then I was able to actually just bang right through the plaster, and right there is the hole to the chimney, which made me thankful that I didn't burn the house down yet last year when I started a little fire in my house. So it's good that didn't burn through the chimney. And here's that wall. You can see the exposed wood and my empty floor. And I'd like to take a real short break here for our sponsor, Danner Masonry. You can see they use the most quality bricks and mortar between the bricks to last forever. And then this is me tearing out more those blocks. They were actually chinked inside of the, or I don't know what the word is for it, but like little keyholes inside of the main post, which made it pretty easy. As soon as I cut out one or two with my skill saw or jigs, I don't know what the thing's called either, but like cut out one or two with that thing, then I would just pry up the rest and pull them out, and they came out pretty smoothly. I'm hoping to be able to use a lot of these logs because there's a lot of nice logs. They were preserved pretty excellently for how long they were in there. I think the mud just preserves the logs, and so I might be able to reuse them in some future little project somewhere. And you can see the back side of the mud on the other side of the wall because I hadn't chinked that or hadn't knocked that out. And there I am just beating away at it, just getting some work done, pulling that all out. It's a lot of work just prying those things up, laying them aside. I'm really hoping to figure out some use for those things. And there I am just checking out the top of the post, and it was actually rather pointless to do that. I banged around for a bit and wiggled around on a nail, and the nail never came out. It was quite rusty. I don't know if I could grind it out. I'll see what happens with that. Here I am started on the other side of the wall, just banging away again, chipping away, down with the plaster, down with the mud, down with the paint, getting it all just down on the floor. I'm not looking forward to putting this all in a wheelbarrow and getting it out of here, but that's what will have to happen later. And here I am just chinking away at the next one, and I chinked away at this and then saw on it again. Once again, the same process for this wall. Just saw on a couple of those logs, getting them loose, pulling them out, throwing them to the side. Saw on a couple more. Well, first of all, see if I can wiggle it out. Nope, doesn't work. Not that shortcut. And there I am again, just sawing it down. Saw it away, jiggle, wiggle, see if it comes out this time. Let's see if it works. See if I can take a shortcut. Nope, most of my shortcuts take longer than if I would have just done it the right way first time. It needs cut again. I don't know why I'm trying to take shortcuts like that, but here I go again, and it worked. So there, we pull them apart, pull them up, pull them down, pull them around, got them wiggled out, got it all beat apart. Here's another one, pulling it away, beating them apart. So basically just tearing into the walls, tearing everything down, tearing out what's old. My plan is in the end to take out all these walls in here and as much as possible not have any posts going up. I might have to have a post or two going up, but try not to have too many posts going up to clear space for this here. This is going to be the kitchen area right here, and the other area where the living room is going to be the living room in the future. So there I am looking at it, wiggling around, looking at it, seeing if I could pull off that post. Well, that didn't work, so I just started hammering away at the door. And my mantle fell apart here, so I'm not going to be able to reuse that mantle. Thankfully, I've got another mantle, and I'll be able to reuse that one and not these. These are going to all break apart, fall away, and so they're not worth reusing. And there I am, just a chinking it away. Taking out the mantle, taking out the door, laying everything to the side. It's going to be a big fire when I start it to get all this stuff burnt. There I am, just banging off the other side, the mud on the other side of that wall. I wanted to make sure there was a little bit of mud taken off so that I could cut through, and then I started tearing them apart. And then tearing them apart, tear them down, wiggle them out, tear them down, wiggle them out. It's the name of the game, and keep going just like that. Same, you get a little process going, get a little rhythm. It works out decently well once you figure out what you're doing. Tearing everything down as far as I can until I hit my pile of dirt at the bottom, and then I leave it there. There I am looking and wiggling around and tearing off the mantle on the other side, and I got it all torn off. There's a beam going across the top there that I might have to leave. I don't know what I'll do with it. I was hoping I could move that post. It's not moving, but that beam across the top is quite low, so I'll have to figure something out because it's notched into the beams going the other way. So I'll have to see what I can do for that to make that work out. There I am peering outside at my little hole in the wall. I'll have to redo that whole wall. And now a word from my sponsor, Apple. As you see me walk in, I just went out to the tree and picked an apple here and started munching away. They tasted quite well because I didn't have any water up here today. I forgot to stop by the spring on the way out. And here, just dumping the logs out, throwing them out the window. I'm going to make 2 piles outside, 1 pile to save and 1 pile to throw in the fire and burn up. So there I'm trying to just clean off the floor a little bit because I'm planning to tear out the roof. So I want to make sure that I'm not covering up any of my nice wood, high value wood. So there I go, just start banging away at the roof and I'm tearing out the beams. We're going to try to leave these beams exposed, so I want to not beat them up too bad, but I got to take off all the plaster and all that. I don't know what those things are called, but basically little strips of wood that they use to put the mortar or plaster onto. And there I am just beating off the roof. Thankfully there's a decent part of that was actually pretty loose, so it just came down pretty nicely. And just banging it away, trying to tear it down. This part of the roof we're going to actually make floor to ceiling on this side so that you can see up through the beams and see the roof from the living room. The other part we're going to have a loft bedroom up above is the plan. We'll see how all this works out. I might have to adjust my plans as I go, but we'll see what happens. There I am just beating it away, and you can see the dust flowing into the camera. It's a lot of dust, a lot of work, taking it all down. My nose and everything is full of dirt and dust by the time I'm done hammering this away. There I am starting on the next section, just beating it away, opening it up, trying to get it a little more open in here. And a lot of dust hitting the camera, but there I am just tearing it down. And then after I got it torn down a bit, I decided that I wanted to try to cut some of those boards out because they were moving decently well. I saw they were almost rotten, so I went upstairs to see if I could lift them up. And after a little bit, you'll see I was successful. I was able to lift them up. There's only 1 board spanning between those beams, so they're nailed down just beam to beam. And it's pretty easy to lift them up and chunk them down. Except for sometimes, and there I come down through the ceiling. And there I am. I just wanted to move sides, so I went up to the top and lifted it up and put the boards down. And you can see me just continue to lift them up, put the boards down, and then I hit this long one at the end, and I was not able to lift it up, so I decided to call it quits and to make this the end of my video. And here is my torn up roof with a view up to the ceiling with all the beams. I'm hoping to make those beams exposed and beautiful, and then you just see right up to the roof, which it will need some insulation up there. But here's my post. You can see it's pretty gutted out inside. Everything's empty, everything's desolate and lonely, and there you can see through the wall at that end where I'll need to do some work. And this is me on the way home, driving beautiful country here with changing fall leaves, driving on my way back to the little town, village that I'm staying in, about 10 minutes away, back to Cottage. So there's driving down the road through the village, and then there's the church.